My name is Casey Marshall. I'm one of the advisors for the Global Program for Freshmen. And the Global Program for Freshmen is basically a program that allows for incoming international students to a U.S. university to take courses that would be the prerequisites for, or not prerequisites, for the general requirements for courses that they would take their first semester or their first year in university. And don't forget, the closing deadline for the applications for the GPF program is actually August 1st. So just real quick about the Global Program for Freshmen. We look forward to seeing applications and seeing you in our program. So just real quick, I'm going to let Mia, who is our other moderator, introduce herself.
Hey everyone, my name is Mia. I'm graduating from UC Berkeley this summer with a major in economics and minor in data science. It's my honor to be here today and host with Casey and hear from our panelists. So how about we let our panelists to introduce themselves a little bit. Let's start with Marshall, shall we?
Yes, sure. Hi, thank you, Mia, and thank you, Casey. My name is Marshall Lee. I'm a rising sophomore at UC Berkeley, intending to major in political economy and minor in public policy. Also, as you might figure it out, I'm a member of California lightweight rowing team. Other than that, I'm also a research assistant at Stanford University. Before enrolling to Berkeley, I previously stayed in Beijing and graduated from high school affiliated to Renmin University of China. So yeah, I'm really happy. I'm looking forward to having this great conversation with you all.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Marshall, for his introduction. Now let's hear from Anne.
Hi, everybody. My name is Anne. I'm a rising junior, major in comparative literature and East Asian studies. But apart from my majors, I'm also interested in physics, philosophy, and linguistics. I'm a member of the Chinese orchestra at Berkeley, and I work for the Dean's Office in Humanities and Arts. And I had experience in both Chinese local high school and United World College. So I'd love to support rising freshmen to adjust to all kinds of American college life and the difference in instruction mode educational system.
Awesome. Okay, now let's turn to Jennifer.
Thank you. Hi everyone, I'm Jennifer and I'm a rising sophomore at UC Berkeley, intending to major in statistics and economics, maybe minor in data science and French also. So personally, I really love languages and I have learned French for a long time. And also at Berkeley, I'm a member of the Debate Society of Berkeley. I also work for ASUC as an elections auditor. Well, in my spare time, I like doing debate, doing swimming, and also having fun with my friends. Thank you.
Last but not least, Carol.
Yep. Hello, everyone. My name is Carol, and I'm a rising junior in UC Berkeley. I'm majoring in computer science and intending to double major in statistics while minor in linguistics. Like Jennifer, I also have a strong interest in language as I'm studying Arabic and Sanskrit. Right now, I'm also considering studying Japanese next semester, but we'll see how that goes. So I really love traveling, and I should be in Berlin right now, interning for Amazon, but instead I'm doing it at home right now, just as how we are going to conduct our classes next semester. Outside from classwork, I'm really involved with UCB so our model United Nation, that we compete in schools like Harvard, UCLA, all over the country. And it's also in that close bond community that I really met in Cal. Right, other than that, I'm from Shanghai initially, and for high school-wise, I actually changed for high school. So I've experienced with all kinds of different high school scenarios. So you'll find one that may match your situation.
Okay, awesome. That's it for all the introduction. Now I think we can start our questions. So in this panel, we're gonna touch on 3 different topics. They're academic, social life, and intercultural issues. The first question will be regarding academics. What are the main differences between your high school experience and UCB classroom? Does anybody want to take on that question?
Yeah, I think I can. Well,
Yeah, go ahead.
I think there are a lot of differences actually, but the major difference is at college we have total control of when to take breaks, when to have classes, which subjects and which professors and which classes we want to take, and we have like a lot of options. But in high school, it's kind of like we have a limited and a fixed schedule that we have to pursue. So I think at college, it's very important to have self-discipline. That means you have total control of your GPA and your time management. Also, I think there's more stress in terms of academics at college. And so that's why we have in Berkeley a culture called Make It Wrong in the final week. And also we have some de-stress activities such as taking photos with llamas and cute dogs. I think there's a whole culture around the stressfulness of academics at Berkeley, but I really enjoy it. I think it's a really interesting thing.
Okay, that's really great experience to share by you. Does anybody else want to talk about it?
Also,
Maybe like, oh, sorry, go ahead.
the local high schools, the kind of each, they have the unit is being set up already. They have their community, like from class 1 to class 6, each led by a class instructor, or rather a mentor and a director of each class. But here, there is no fixed community, and you need to reach out to different groups and find your own niche.
Gotcha. In terms of homework, assignment, and exams, do you find those a little bit different from that in high school? Because I know exams and homeworks are really intensive in Chinese high school, and also like American high schools too. So do you find that different, or they're pretty much the same?
Right, I can take on that. It's one of the very different things that you won't expect, because the amount of homework is actually, it actually shrinks quite a lot, and amount of tests also shrinks. However, it rises its difficulty from a different level. So in high school, you will have like problem sets every single day, and then you will have tests like every week, or like at least like every several times per month. But everything will be covered within the textbook. What you do in a problem set will be what you do in your test. However, here, what you learn in class versus what you do in homework might not be consistent, because the professors expect you to learn outside of the classroom, to read more books or learn more theories or prove things yourself. So does for tests. The test really tests your logic and tests how you can think from the path that the professor taught you, instead of like the content of, okay, I should remember this or that. So in some sense, in high school, you can just do your work every single day, and then you're definitely going to nail the test without even reviewing. But in Cal, you might be needing to relearn the things several times or do a lot of past exam and still feel totally dumb in the test. But still, it's really a process of learning it.
I actually had a follow-up
Gotcha.
question for Jennifer, Mia, if you don't mind.
Yeah, go ahead.
So, Jennifer, you mentioned being more disciplined is really important in university as compared to in high school. What advice would you give to a student who kind of lacks that discipline, like going into university now? Do you have any kind of advice that you would give them?
Sure. I think maybe a study group is really important. You find someone who's really disciplined, who's really motivated, and then you just study with them. I mean, you can discuss with them, and you can like make some plans for every day, for every week, and for every month, and then just to give you some award if you finish that plan and you reach that goal. I think that is also really beneficial.
Great. Well, thank you very much. And just to remind those that are watching again, if you do have a question on any of these topics that we're discussing at any time, you can actually ask a question in the Q&A section of the webinar, and I'll ask it, and we'll ask it for you and make sure that that question gets answered.
Yes. Yeah. So it seems that all our panelists are very disciplined, and they are willing to take the initiatives when they are encountering like challenges in such an academically intensive school. That's really great. Okay, I'll let Casey to ask the second question.
Okay, I think that most of our panelists here would be able to answer this question because it was so close to us this spring semester. So what was the transition to online education and online learning like for the spring? So from the classroom to the online environment. Would anyone like to take that question? Carol?
Okay, yeah, sure.
Did you
Okay,
have something great? Thank you.
I actually wrote a blog about this, about like transitioning to online. And then after writing it, my dad commented, okay, I can't really do online. It's so much discipline. And it's definitely true. So for online, I don't think you got less of an experience with your academics, but instead you get more if you try more. For example, before going online, I might only be able to go to my math professor's office hour once per week. But since online started and it's so close to go anywhere, I literally like bother him like 3 to 4 times per week to just like delve more into abstract algebra. And so just for some other classes, you can like shift around your places much faster. And a small example would be in a CS class, you have like 10 to 20 discussion sessions you can pick from. And normally you will stick to one because it's hard to like change classroom because that depends on how you route yourself in school. But now you can just see whenever you're available, you can just jump into the room, decide if the GIS is really good. If you don't like it as much, you can directly jump into another room with no issue. So we found that part to be pretty awesome. Other than that, it's really, you need to be on top of your assignment. It's really easy to miss things. And also normally I always bump into my friends in libraries or just like on my way home, so then we can chat about homework or what's gonna be do. But when it goes online, even it doesn't matter. So you need to get on top of things yourself and really reach out to people when you want to study group or solve things.
Yeah, I totally agree with what Carol said about like how online learning has increased the efficiency when it comes to office hour and just like other tutorials that you can get from the campus. I have a follow-up question to that is I take a lot of Haas classes and they require a lot of like midterm projects that like 3 or 4 people need to do together. And you know that like Berkeley students are from all around the world, and right now they're like having time difference issues. They're like in different locations. How do you guys navigate this kind of challenge when you guys are not in the same time zone and you need to cooperate in terms of like studying or, you know, coordinating for program, like for projects or like that? Marshall, do you want to take that question or anybody else?
Yes, I would love to take this question. Actually, I feel like this is a, this is so real, this is so true, so relative to our life. But I found out like last semester, I took a class which is really famous or very popular in Berkeley. It's called Data 8. And it also has this kind of like group project. So basically, I and my my partner, we just discuss all sort of things online other than just like coding side by side. So that's that's a big switch. That's a big switch. But well, it turns out that like it ends up pretty okay. I mean, there's no big problem. There is some there is some challenge, but there is no like huge problem. We can still use social media. We can build on our project through Piazza and other online like this kind of education applications. So it turns out that it's not too bad.
Yeah, that's awesome advices. Yeah, great.
Carol, you mentioned that academically you're adjusting pretty well, but socially maybe not so much. It's like a whole little bit harder to do online, the social aspect of university.
I think yes, like very much. I personally, I found it very hard to find new friends through online stands, since probably you're only like facing like not actually face to face. I can give a pretty vivid example. So for my linguistic class last semester, since we go online, there are much more people answering question or asking question in the chat box, since you don't need to raise your hand. So I see much more new faces than I normally would in class. However, normally in class, when there are a lot of like whenever there's someone who's active, I always go to greet them and then we become friends. But here, like there are much more active people, but I would say hi to them through the screen, but that's it, which is kind of sad. And still, like for my other linguistic friends I already have in class, like we'll still like chat after like class time, and you really need to arrange time because one of them is went back to Australia, so we're like in a different time zone. but still it's like doable, but just like not as frequent, because it's really the motivation to go to lecture is because you can see friends, you can be there, engage with the professor, and now you need to think about it in a different mindset.
On the same note, what steps do you take to kind of maintain your sanity with the social aspect? Like, so how do you get that social aspect? And this could be for all of you, Jennifer and Marshall and Carol. How do you get that social aspect that you kind of miss online?
Well, I think maybe try to find a more classroom-like setting to study. Like, for example, I study in the lounge. I feel like I'm a part of something, so I feel motivated. And also to wear more formal outfit, so that makes you feel like, well, so we're actually doing something really serious. So I think that's one of my methods.
Okay.
Gotcha.
I think for me, I had an advantage last semester because I went back home with another friend in Model UN to Ohio. So like I have two other friends in the house that I have like the same class with them. So I would get like bored, like out of my mind, like in my room studying or like doing things. But then we went out and we chat about like school stuff or like talking about our classes, talking about professor, like how amazing things have been going. Like that really keep me intact.
All right. If anyone else has anything else to add to this question.
Yeah, I mean, the social aspect is really kind of stressful, especially we cannot meet friends in person. But with the technology, I feel like we have so many resources available because usually our like rowing team will have this kind of like annual banquet. But it turns out that this year, obviously, there cannot be any like in-person banquet. So we just moved that on Zoom. And with these opportunities, we can actually invite those people who are like far away from campus, and we can also invite those alumni to join the Zoom banquet because now it's online. Everybody who who have the access to the internet can join this kind of banquet. So actually make the resource and make activities more available to the general public and to anyone who wants to participate in.
That's a good point, that you can actually extend the social gatherings to across the globe rather than just the setting of Berkeley. That's an interesting point. So I think we'll move on to maybe the next question unless anyone has anything else to add. I think Anne, you unmuted your mic. I wasn't sure if you had something to say.
I was about to say that me and some friends, we also formed like a Berkeley wellness group where we'll meet through Zoom each week and kind of update on each other, like how do you feel and are you depressed or anxious, and then and kind of share what we cook each day and what activity we did, what exercise we did. So it's kind of to take care of each other through this online form.
Well, great. Thank you
It's
all
really
for
nice
contributing
of you
to
guys,
this.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Mia, would you like to
This
ask the next question?
Yes, this is actually a perfect point for me to ask my third question. Was it easy for you guys to get involved in student organization at Cal? I know this is like a little bit different this year since most students are not coming to Berkeley or like going to their university for the freshman year because of the pandemic. But how do you think like joining the organization have impacted your experience at UC Berkeley? Like anyone can take this question because I know all of you guys have
open
like
floor.
have joined a lot of organizations and did some great work.
I think Marshall has something to say.
I think I can take on this question because everybody knows Berkeley has a huge campus now. Like back to high school, it's all like small villages, but now in Berkeley, it's like a whole town. There's a town, you know? So, and there are so many resources that we can access to, including those clubs. And I feel like finding a club is important because it gives you a sense of community. And fortunately, I found my community in my club. For example, my rowing team. Our lightweight rowing team is administrated under Berkeley Sports Club. And there's like, we have a small community, but it's like really, this community is small, but we welcome everybody to participate in. There's no tryout for getting into this club. So I feel like there are so many sports clubs and many interesting clubs that you have never thought before, um, that these are great opportunities for you to just jump in their info sessions and to get to know about. And like, if you are fortunate enough, just like me, you can find a sense of community or sense of belonging in any of them.
Yeah, it's like a really great way to meet more people, because I'm sure like most people don't just want to like see their study buddy all the time. Like they need to like find passion and actually participate in things that make them really like passionate about
Exactly.
like life, not just like academic life.
Exactly.
Yeah, Jennifer, do you want to share your experiences in the model? No, it's the debate team, right? I've seen your pictures in the Stanford debate event on your 朋友圈. Do you want to like share your experience on that?
Sure. So I think one of the most fortunate things for me is to join the debate team at my freshman year. I think, well, I didn't do a lot of debate in my high school, but but I prepared for a lot for the interview, and I fortunately got in. I think joining a debate is not just about to practice my English skills and expand my word will in general, but it's also you get to meet a lot of friends and you get to travel together to UCLA. I've been to LA like 3 times because of attending debate tournaments. And also, I think another thing about online club, one benefit is that actually we can take part in tournaments in a much cheaper price compared to the previous tournaments, because the registration fee online is actually much cheaper. So maybe our club gets more chances to practice in the future. I think that's one benefit of moving to online in the fall.
Yeah, traveling and making friends together at the same time, that's awesome. I've heard students talk about, because like I, as a Berkeley student, also have experienced some rejections when it comes to applying for for clubs or any type of team at Cal. Have you guys been rejected before, and how do you guys deal with that? Anybody can take the questions. Like, I know it's like a painful experience, but I'm sure you guys are brave enough to talk about it.
Yeah, actually, I was rejected by one club in Berkeley. I don't want to name it, but yeah, it was a painful experience. But I feel like it was a good try. That was the first time I actually do like a 3 round of interview and social events, you know. So this of course is you can, I mean, they cannot guarantee you can get into a club when you just join their info sessions, but it must be a good try for you to like explore more clubs in this way by going their info session, going to attend their social events, and it's also a good way to make friends. And yeah, I mean, you can apply more. Berkeley has so many clubs. I would say thousands of student groups for you to join. I mean, you can. Well, it's okay to not. It's okay to be rejected, because there are way more opportunities beyond that simple rejections, isn't it?
Yeah, I totally agree. I like, for me, maybe like my lesson is really to be more resilient, and also this is like a great opportunity for you to explore what it is really like in a real world. That you're gonna get a lot of rejections when you like exit the university, when you're looking for a job. So that's like actually great experiences.
I do have one more thing. Just if everyone, all of our panelists would give a thumbs up or a thumbs down, has joining a club or being involved in a student organization positively impacted your experience? Yes or no? Look at that. As I thought. Well, great. Good. So,
Okay.
yeah, that's good. Really good answers from everyone. I really appreciate it. Maybe one day we'll talk a little bit more in depth about which clubs you're in.
Casey, can you
Sure.
ask the next question then?
Absolutely. So, if I'm not mistaken, all of you came to the U.S. to start university. You were originally from another going to high school in another country. Is that correct? For most everyone?
Right, except I came here like my junior year of high school.
Okay, so you came a little bit earlier, but I think you could still answer this question pretty easily. So what surprised you the most when you first started college or first started university in the US? What was the most surprising thing that you weren't ready for? This is for anyone.
Yeah, I think one really great thing is that like here we can get so close to nature. Well, that is something that I really like about Berkeley, because I see a lot of students just relaxing on the grass after a hard day's work and talking with friends, because there are so many flowers and trees that are don't know their names, but they're so new and so unique, and I haven't seen it back in China. So I think that's probably one reason why American kids are not, a lot of them are not nearsighted, like compared to Chinese students.
Yeah, that's
Any,
interesting.
yeah. Does anyone else have any kind of something that you weren't ready for when you first started university in the US, whether it was the food, the number of people, anything like that?
Yeah. I can take on these questions. Like when I went to Berkeley, the first thing I feel like, wait, it was not as urban as I saw it, because I am from Beijing, and many of other friends of mine are from those like harbor cities or big cities in China. And they were like, wait, it was kind of not that urban, you know? But because we know Berkeley is urban comparing to many other places, many other universities and colleges were in rural areas. But still, it's not too convenient, especially for the public transportation. There's no subway. There's BART, but BART is not working pretty well, to be honest. But yeah, but other than that, I feel like there's enormous resources in Bay Area. Although the public transportation is not that good, but other than that, they have huge resources in San Francisco, in Oakland, even in Palo Alto, San Jose. They are really approachable to you unless you can get there. And yeah, and other thing I feel like the other thing that surprised me is the inclusiveness of Berkeley. I feel like Berkeley, particularly Berkeley, in terms of culture, is open, it's inclusive. No matter what you stand for, you can always find a spot here. You can always find a community here. Somebody say that like Berkeley is pretty like left-wing schools, but no, but well, perhaps. But yes, we still have like Republican on campus. We still have all sorts of opinions on campus. So no worries to like be like, no worries that you cannot, don't worry that if you cannot find a like community or a belonging, because there are so many resources and so many groups you can join. There are so many amazing stuff awaiting for you.
Great, thank you. Yeah, I remember I've been to a lot of universities across the United States, and none of them compare to the urbanness when I lived in Japan, in Tokyo. And they were very, very like in the middle of Tokyo, right? But whereas a lot of universities in the US are kind of, they push them away from the big urban centers for the most part. And it's just a different feel of a university.
Yeah. I want to share my answer to this question.
Go right ahead.
Yeah, I think what kind of like surprised me the most when I start college at Cal is really the political environment. It's really interesting and very liberal, to be honest, because back in China, I don't talk about politics a lot, and I don't want to go to any direction politically, but I do feel like freedom of thoughts is well presented here, and your ideas will be respected regardless of who your listeners are or whether they disagree with your opinions or not. I think that's a really great thing. So like you can be really brave to express what you think at Berkeley. So that's why, even though like a lot of students or like a lot of people say Cal is renowned for all the STEM majors, I still feel humanity classes are really great here, since like the environment is so great and it's so welcoming. So like you can share your thoughts freely.
Yeah, I also think it's interesting. Berkeley is also pretty well known for the free speech movement. And like just it's kind of resonates around Berkeley to where even if you disagree on the ideas, you can still have a dialogue about it, and that's really healthy for any group of people or city, nation, etc. It's really healthy to have that dialogue.
Yeah. I feel like this is an important heritage of Berkeley. I just have a book here, like just on my desk. It's called Free Speech Movement and Reflections. Yeah, these are the heritage that Berkeley bring to me, and also Berkeley bring to the U.S. in general. Those civil rights movement started from Berkeley and started to make real influence to the United States and beyond.
Yep, absolutely. Does anyone have anything else to say on this topic?
Right, adding on to that, I think coming to Berkeley was the first time I realized we're making real world impact. No matter for, like when we see videos about robotics, like their new innovation with biology versus biology plus engineering, you will see the actual robot being thrown down from like the top of barrels, which is one of our building. Like it's like throw down and then show that the machine is working totally fine and it's like running on its own, and it just happened right next to us when a new technology, new innovation is happening. And also, first year I was also in ASUC, which stands for Associate Students of University of California. It's our student union, and I was in the EAVP office, which deal with external affairs. So we'll actually go to town hall of the city, talk about, oh, we lobby to get 50 streetlights for the city of Berkeley, and then we'll like send out survey to be like, okay, which street do we want to install them, and negotiate to be, okay, next semester can we get like 70 lights per semester? And then the town hall's like, no, we're broke. It's like all these moments that makes you realize you're no longer just like a high school students studying for exam, but instead you are making real world impacts. You're working with the real world and you're really contributing.
All right.
Okay. Any follow-up questions or anything you guys want to add to that?
So far, really good conversation, really good dialogue.
Yeah. Okay, if not, we can continue and I'll ask the next question. So what advice do you have for fall 2020 for all the high school students, the incoming freshmen, or students who want to study in Berkeley?
Or just general advice for fall 2020. It doesn't necessarily have to be students that would in the future be studying at Berkeley, but just as a student going to university for the first time in the U.S., what advice might you offer?
Yeah.
And I'd like to actually hear from everyone on this topic.
Maybe the first lesson for all of us, for our incoming freshmen, is to be calm, to be able to adapt. Well, I think especially given this situation, there's so many chaotic events going on. Like for international students especially, there like travel restrictions, visa applications, there are delays in flights, there are also online classes, time differences. There are just so many things. But I think on one hand, they're really not ideal situations for our freshmen, for our college experiences. But on the other hand, it also in some way help us to adapt, to be more able to handle those difficult situations and to be mature enough to deal with them. So I think one thing I really want to tell all the incoming freshmen is that just to be strong and be able to adapt.
That's really great advice. Yeah, definitely be really adaptive, especially during a time like a time of a lot of chaos, political fluctuations, and also safety. So yeah, definitely. It's like harder for almost everybody this year, also next year. So be emotionally stable and brave is really important. Yeah. Who wants to?
I will continue this on. So I think another piece of advice is really not to take all advice as well. I think normally during every semester, there will be a pretty standard routine of, okay, you're gonna come for GBO, you're gonna register for class, you're going to class shop, you can like for the first 2 weeks, like go for like 10 classes and then decide what you actually want to take. But now everyone's actually making totally different plan, whether to stay in Berkeley or return to your home country, whether to stay somewhere else in the US or like, I don't know, there's so many things that can happen. And either to take something hybrid or doing it entirely online, or try to find some friends to do it together, like to be actually like physically around. So everyone's making different plans for like themselves. And I do think that for your own case, you really should like analyze on your situation, where do you want to be, how your parents are thinking, like what's their suggestions, and what you actually want to do. Because next semester is non-traditional at all. It's a time that none of Berkeley student knows what exactly is the best piece of advice, because everything is different. And then talking about non-traditional advice, I'm going to share one that I was talking with some incoming freshmen. So there are some interesting ideas floating around, including one called time displacement. So that sounds kind of scientific, but instead it's more like they're analyzing that next semester, maybe for socials and for clubs, there won't be as much going on, or like the quality won't be as good. So why not just invest all the time into academics to take the harder classes, take more classes, so when they're able to and ready to go back to campus, they can then use the time to enjoy more social life, like taking less hardcore classes. It's not a path that everyone's thinking about, but it's also an innovative way to think about this if it's something you might want to do. So from them, I think those freshmen are talking about like taking 4 technicals together, and so then just so that they can have the next year to be like less of workload. And another part I found interesting is that for me personally, I haven't made like really close friends since quarantine started, since like I can't really meet anyone in person and it takes effort to like arrange meetings. But for the incoming freshmen, I was really worried about them. But turns out like people also like form their little group chats of people they analyze to be like of similar academic capacity, of similar interests. So they're going to like take classes together, so then they can like push it push it through with each other. So these are also things you can consider. But in the end of the day, definitely consider your situation, your health, your like housing situation or whatever first, because things will be very different next semester.
Yeah, and just to jump on top of that real quick, if you do like kind of think that maybe I could take a few extra classes, I would just like to add, don't overdo it. Know your limits and know what you're capable of, so you don't overdo it and then do poorly in this semester. So I just wanted to add one little thing on that.
Yeah.
Anne or Marshall, did you have anything else to add as far as advice for fall?
Okay, I can go first. To build on that, I feel like one important thing you need to master in college and beyond is time management. As what Carol just said, like people may have different plans for the fall and even for the future. So time management is crucial here. Time management allows you to live a decent life, live a healthy life while you can still get things done. And one small advice is to make use of your applications. I know everybody now needs this kind of thing, cell phones. So make use of it, but in a positive way. Plan your things on your cell phone. Plan your things on what devices you have. For example, use Google Calendar to plan your things, like especially during these trying times. When everything now is online, you need to plan everything ahead. Oh, just like Carol just showed us. Yeah, exactly. And to plan those things and make small schedules, make small calendars like that, do the checklist. So these are small techniques or small habits that can make you thrive in these trying times. And I feel like these are particularly useful. Also, like in college, there's no class teacher. I had a class teacher when I was in high school. I had a class teacher when I was in middle school. But now in UC Berkeley, no, I do not have a class teacher. So basically, it means that there's no one chasing behind me to force me or just encourage me to get everything done by the deadline. So which means that I have to plan everything on my own. And that's why I strongly encourage you to plan ahead and do the time management well with everything you have. So you will not be so stressed out when the deadline comes, right?
And
I can also say some people might find it hard to deal with this extra time. They might have felt that life is so boring, or this is unbearable, this emptiness is unbearable. But I want to say it's also a great opportunity to slow down, not in a very fast-paced, highly stressed study mode. And then it's good to use the extra time to really think about some like fundamental issues about life, or start reading like one book each week, or pick up some old hobbies. Like I used to paint a lot before I attend college. I studied painting for around 7 years, but I didn't have that much time after, since the college, the club, and study and everything. But now it's a good time to pick up those hobbies and then maybe try different things too. I can study a new language, or now I started learning digital design, like digital graphics. Yeah.
Mia, do you
It's really
actually have
great.
any advice for incoming students as well, seeing as you're a student also?
Sure. Like since I'm graduating, so I guess like my advice will be on, even like during this time, maybe like start looking into what you're really passionate about, because it turns out that when I started looking for jobs, it like many of the positions that I thought would be really interesting turns out not that attractive. And because like usually when you start looking for jobs or internship, you start to like look at things that are related to your majors, right? But it turns out it can actually be different from what you've been studying, like for the 4 years during your universities. It can be like I study econ and data science, but I landed a job in marketing. So it's like totally, it sounds like really different, like two very different fields, but actually not. They're like closely related. I can use a lot of my economic theories or expertise to solve problems that art and marketing people can't solve. And I think that's really great. So actually like really to develop a really wide interest in different topics, and you will find that really helpful in the future. Yeah, so that's my advice. So it's great to hear that all of our panelists are interested in so many different things, and a lot of them are double majoring. That's a really great start, and I think it will do them really well in the future. So yeah.
Right. Also, quickly adding on to it, I think a lot of freshmen, when they come into Cal, they're like double major or triple major, or like at least like 2 minors of like what they want to do. Really, because I think it's a good thing on a learning perspective. They don't want to limit themselves into one field, which I think is a perfect thing. But also like for freshman year, really like relax down and try different things, because sometimes you will find your interest landing in a totally different field, or you want to try something, like pick something up that never crossed your life before. For example, I'm never someone who's STEM before coming to Cal, but right now I'm doing stats and computer science just because I took some of those classes during my freshman year. I was admitted to Cal as art practice major. After trying our art practice department, I actually didn't like it that much, and I had some switches, like trying theater, trying what else I tried? I think I tried several departments and eventually decided on what I actually want to do. So really be open, try different things, and it's okay to dream about like however many major, whatever, but don't list a list that totally limits yourself just to finish requirements.
Yeah, I think that's one thing that's really great about Berkeley is that the opportunity cost of changing majors or like just changing a passion is actually relatively smaller compared to universities in China. And I think that's a really great thing. I have friends who like change their majors like 4 or 5 times in 2 years, and it's totally acceptable because like you can do that. It's like it's a learning process. It's a process of learning about yourself. It's a process of learning about other people, and it's like just don't try to do things as quickly as possible, but really enjoy the process, not the results. Okay, I think we're done with all our questions. Casey, do you have any other questions that you want to ask?
I don't see any questions from our attendees and those students that are watching right now. So if anyone watching does have another question for right now, go ahead and ask that in the Q&A function on the webinar. We'll get to it. Otherwise, I think we may be at the end of our discussion on beginning university in the US. So unless I see another question here in another couple seconds, Mia, if you'd like to close it out with just a short recap of GPF.
Yeah, sure. So firstly, I want to thank all our panelists for joining our talk today. It's really valuable. It's definitely like very valuable for all our attendees because like currently they don't have like a lot of experiences, and you guys are the role models, to be honest. So a little bit recap for our global program for freshmen. Joining this program can help you get used to the teaching style of the top-notch university professors at Cal, and we offer carefully designed online courses to give you authentic Berkeley learning experiences. So if you're thinking about doing a gap year or deferring your enrollment in your university, definitely check this program out because our program offers a lot of transferable credits to your university. Yeah, so if you want to like experience the life that our panelists have discussed about, have shared with you, so definitely like try joining some programs that can help you like find your own spot in America university's learning experiences.
And on top of that, if you have any questions at all, we have advisors that are prepared to answer any questions that you may have. You can always email any questions at internationaladmissions@berkeley.edu, and we're happy to respond back to you. We'd love to talk to you and get to know you and see if the GPF is going to be a good fit for you and if it's going to work out in your long-term and short-term goals.
Yeah, definitely join our WeChat group. We have the scan code posted like right now on the screen. So we're ready to answer any questions that you may have, and definitely email us or message us in a WeChat group so to reach out if you have any questions.
And I was just going to close it out with thank you for our panelists. Thank you very much for attending and sharing some insights from your time as a student. It's been a pleasure chatting with you. Maybe we'll have some more chances to get to know each other in the future. And I'd also like to thank Emily, who is kind of behind the scenes operating, and then Sam Smith, who is the program manager for the GPF as well. They're kind of lurking in the background. And I think that's about everything. So once again, thank you all for attending, and we look forward to seeing you in GPF or at Berkeley in the future.